In this demo, we want to write a program to calculate the area and circumference of a circle given its diameter. So I'm going to start by declaring this variable diameter and initialize it with 10. In the first try, I want to define one function that gives me both values. So I'm going to call this function calculate area and circumference, and I know that I need diameter as an argument for this function, and since we need to return both area and circumference, we cannot use the normal return value, and we need to define our parameters as pass by reference and update them inside the function. So I'm going to declare two variables, area and circumference, and then I'm gonna give them as an argument to the function. We are not gonna return any value by return statement, so the return type is void, and then we need the name of the function. The first parameter is pass by value, so we have integer diameter, and the next two are pass by reference, so we have double ampersand area and double ampersand circumference. Both for area and circumference, we need to compute the radius of the circle. So I'm gonna declare this variable and initialize it by diameter divided by 2. We also need the pi number, so we can define constant double pi equal to 3.1. Now we can just update the value of circumference and area. So it will be 2 times pi times radius, and radius times radius times pi. So I'm gonna print the value of area and circumference variables after the running of the function. So pass by reference option works perfectly and we have the results that we need. But since these two computations are completely independent, we can decompose this function to two functions. If we have two different functions, one of them will return the area and the other one will return the circumference. So we don't need to use the pass by reference option anymore. So we're going to start by updating the main function. We need to update area by the result of a function named calculate area, which has the diameter as an argument. Similarly, we will have circumference function calculate circumference having diameter as an argument. So the calculate area function needs to return a double value. So double is the return type. The name of the function is calculate area. And we have an integer parameter named diameter, which will be passed by value. So inside this function, we again need radius and pi. And after that, we are gonna return this value. Similarly, we will have double calculate circumference, and the parameter is diameter, which is passed by value. We again need radius and pi, and we are gonna return the circumference. So as I mentioned earlier, if we have an option between decomposing a function or using pass by reference to update multiple values, we should use decomposing the function option and have separate functions that each of them return one value. Here both of these functions are using the pi value, so we can declare it as a global variable. So we don't need these two lines anymore. Also, we are repeating this radius computation in both of functions. Though it is so small, we still can define a separate function for it. So we are gonna declare this function calculate radius, which gets diameter as an input and returns diameter divided by 2. This program has a logical error which doesn't show itself because we are using 10 as an input and 10 divided by 2 is an integer. The problem is that we are doing integer division, but we need floating number division. So we can either change the type of diameter to double, which I think is the better option here. And then we need to update these parameters types. Now we can either declare a variable radius and initialize it with calculate radius given the diameter, or we can just directly use the results of this function in an expression. So both of them are valid. Now if you remember, we talked about the situations in which a local variable with the same name as a global variable. So if we have this local variable pi, this function is gonna refer to this value rather than the global variable. So I'm gonna just change it to 3 so that we can see the result in the return value of circumference. So it was 31.4 something and now it's 30. Now let's move function definition after the main function and just keep the prototype in the beginning. So I'm gonna copy these 3 functions here and we are gonna keep the prototype here before the main function because we are calling this calculate area and calculate circle inside main function. for prototypes, we don't have to keep the parameters identifier here. Having the data type is enough. So both ways are correct. We can either have the data type with identifier or the data type itself.